What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the G.R.I.T.S Code. I'm Earl Martin. We have Tadean Page.
Hi.
Julian will be joining us shortly. Go ahead and do your thing in the comments with the shade. But today we have Dr. Dre here, who is the PrEP coordinator for the Department of Public Health in South Carolina. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Very good.
So, being from the South, born and raised, what is your favorite part?
So for me, I love the food. Like, I know I've lost a lot of weight recently, but I'm a huge foodie, and I grew up with my grandmother, and she always had me in the kitchen. So like, I love to cook. I'm a really picky eater, so I don't really eat a lot of the stuff that I cook.
Okay.
So if I told you guys the stuff that I don't eat, you would be really shocked saying that I'm from the South. Like, I don't like macaroni and cheese. Like,
That's crazy.
Thank you all for tuning in
Yeah.
to this episode.
Gather
You
your
are
things.
talking to the macaroni connoisseurs right
This
here.
is crazy. There's multiple X's in here at any point.
I know, like, that's always a party starter when I go places. I'm like, I don't eat macaroni and cheese. They're like, what? But I can make it. I just don't like
How
it.
you know you can make it?
Because I watched my grandmother make it. Like, I can make it. I don't even want to taste it.
What
Like,
don't you like about it?
I
This
just
sound
don't
like
like
episode.
noodles and cheese. Like, noodles and cheese with no meat. It's just. But what's crazy is I can eat cheeseburger, like the macaroni hamburger helper.
Girl, next question. You gonna make me mad.
It's an icebreaker.
You know, macaroni.
What?
Okay, listen.
What the girl said? What?
We'll have to insert that clip right here.
No, literally.
Again, Dr. Dre, thank you for being here. Really excited about this conversation today. As Earl mentioned, within your role as a PrEP coordinator, right, within the state of South Carolina, kind of want to take us back and kind of paint this landscape, if you will, as it relates to HIV and AIDS, right? So again, these conversations started in the 1980s, and there's been a lot of advancement in the space. There's been a lot of acknowledgement in the space. There's been a lot of debunking of like these myths and just like weird stuff that's not true. I'm just very curious from your lens, doing this work every single day. When you think about the landscape in terms of HIV and AIDS, where are we today in 2024 versus where we were in 1980s?
So I would say we've come a long way as far as medication and advancement in medication, but as far as stigmas related, I feel like we're still stuck. Working in this field every day, it's truly hard to believe, but there's so much stigma around HIV, which then leads to stigma around PrEP, because even in 2024, people still believe that HIV is a gay man's disease. And so living in this era where we're fighting against Project 2025, where our funding for HIV prevention and treatment has already been significantly decreased, could possibly be eliminated, and that could set us back, years, because a lot of individuals, MSMs or men who have sex with men, they get their medication because of this funding, this federal funding. So like if this funding is eliminated, a lot of people won't be on their medication, so a lot of people viral loads will shoot back up, and then we'll have a lot more infections. So as far as the general landscape, I think as far as people living longer, healthier lives, we've made great transitions with that. Lowering the amount of medications that someone has to take, because early in the 80s you had to take like a cocktail of pills if you were HIV positive, like 18 to 20 pills, and now you can take one pill or get an injection. So we've come a long way with the technology and the science, but as far as moving the needle with how HIV is viewed in pop culture, I feel like we're still stagnant in that, honestly.
Speaking of that pop culture piece, kind of a question for all of us. What are like your earliest learnings, awareness of even the terms of words HIV and AIDS?
So I remember first hearing it, well, not really hearing the word, but you guys know I'm a music fan. So like when TLC had their song Chasing Waterfalls, so of course I knew the message in that was about HIV in the particular, I think the second verse, but I
didn't know that.
Really? Yeah, when she was like, the guy's looking in the mirror, he can't recognize his own face, or 3 letters took him to his final resting place.
Go watch the music video again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that music video was like one of my first introductions to HIV, and then I remember having a teacher in the 9th grade, her name was Miss Williams, and she was like a very like straightforward teacher, and so like a lot of the kids were having sex, and you know a lot of people were turning up pregnant. She was like, you guys need to stop before you catch that AIDS.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
then hearing it like that, and that being my first introduction, like, you know, it's traumatizing because, you know, the way she said it was like, you're gonna catch AIDS, you know, everybody who catches AIDS, you're gonna die, you know. So like when that's all you hear and you don't know the truth behind it, you think, well, dang, if I catch this, like, I'm gonna be dead, I'm not gonna live the rest of my life. So like that was a really traumatic introduction to me. And then of course when I got to college and, you know, began to educate myself more, because PrEP actually was started in 2012, the year I graduated from college. So yeah, I had to educate myself. Like I didn't get my first HIV test until like my freshman year in college. But yep, the TLC video was the first introduction of HIV.
So I remember that video for sure, and then I remember for some reason a Girlfriends episode is sticking out to me, and it was Joan and Maya. Well, not Joan and Maya's, but Joan and Tony's best friend or friend from college. She had contracted HIV, and they focused on like the stigma, because I think she cut her hand in the kitchen, and they were like,
oh, yeah,
there's blood, and then she was like, no, we just gotta burn the kitchen down, but she made a joke out of it. But then they kind of had like a really powerful episode around it. So that was like the first time I seen it, I guess in my mind, mainstream on a show. But that was early, that's like 2000, 2001.
Like I knew a lot of people in the generation before me, their first introduction was like A Different World. I know y'all heard of that show.
Mm-hmm.
So like A Different World was like the first show to actually like touch on, like they had a whole episode dedicated to it. And I think things like that we need to bring it back into like television, because right now you're in this cancel culture, and it's like you don't want to offend people, and like religion is so obscure now, so it's like you don't know what you can do, what you can't do, like what you can say, what you can't say. And like I know for us it's really challenging because we can't talk about PrEP in schools, period. Like it can't be discussed, even like if there's a sexual health course being offered, they can't talk about PrEP. And I'm like,
Is that a South Carolina thing?
It may be a South Carolina thing. I definitely think it's a South Carolina thing, but we can't even mention PrEP or talk about getting tested for HIV to kids in middle school or high school.
Really?
Like, without their parents' consent. It's crazy. And I remember being in middle school and learning about birth control. You know, and you talk about condoms and people having sex and using protection and abstinence, but then what about the people who are not going to use condoms, or the people who may be a victim of sexual assault?
Right.
Because HIV doesn't discriminate. Like it's not just for someone who's promiscuous or having sex with a lot of people. It can be a one-time thing. Like it takes one time to get pregnant. It can take one time to get HIV, and I use that a lot in my training. So it's a struggle, honestly.
So we've thrown around the word PrEP a few times. Can you tell us what PrEP is?
Yeah, so PrEP, it stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, which means it's a medication that you take to prevent a virus. And so pretty much PrEP, you can take it orally or by injection. So you take it to prevent the transmission of HIV. If you're taking it as prescribed, it will reduce that chance by 99%. So if you're on the oral medication, you do have to take the pill every day around the same time every day. Or there's an injection where you can get an injection every 2 months, I believe. No, every 3 months. You get the injection, and then we're working on an injection now. Well, not me personally, but like there's development now for a 6-month injectable. So like you can come in twice a year and get an injectable. That's something that'll be coming out soon. And so pretty much you're taking the medication to prevent the transmission of HIV and kind of helping build towards the U equals U. Have you guys heard of that before? So pretty much it's the goal of ending the HIV epidemic. So for those people who are undetectable, pretty much they can't transmit the virus. And so when we have more of our HIV positive community, undetectable, and then we have the community that's HIV negative on PrEP, like we can pretty much work towards eliminating HIV.
Because isn't the goal to be by 2030?
Yes, but I think that date is going to continue to get pushed back because politics, and we don't know what's going to happen in November. I'm super proud of Kamala raising $200 million, but I'm still like, I don't know. I still like, I have that fear of Donald Trump winning just because, you know, what happened with Hillary, and like, I feel like we thought we had it won before we actually won it. And I don't foresee that happening again, but like Project 2025 really scares me when it comes to the stuff that's in there about eliminating like federal funding for healthcare, specifically HIV treatment and prevention. Like it's really scary. Yeah.
Yeah, we have some work to do.
We do.
Lots of work.
We got about
Please
9
vote.
days to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's to it.
But also,
Okay.
can I throw in something right
Yeah.
quick? So, like, you talked about PrEP, and like I've been on my own journey, of, like learning more too, and like PEP.
Yeah, so PEP or MPEP is also like a version of PrEP, but you take it to pretty much prevent yourself from contracting HIV after a potential exposure.
Yeah.
So say for instance, like if you have unprotected sex but you have to take it within 72 hours. So like if you have unprotected sex, like a one night stand, you're out of town somewhere, you have to go to the emergency room within 72 hours of intercourse and get the MPEP regimen started. And a misconception about MPEP is people think it's like a morning after pill. Like I can just go to the ER and be like, listen, I had unprotected sex last night. I don't know that person's status. They may possibly be HIV positive. I need to get started on MPEP. You're going to be on that for 30 days. So that's going to be like a pill regimen that you take for the next 28 days. So it's like a whole month of pills that you're taking. So I always tell people, if you feel yourself in a position where you're constantly having to go get PrEP, like you'll be one of the ideal candidates to be on PrEP, because you're going to be taking a pill every day anyway, or you can opt for the injection so you don't have to do that. But yeah, MPEP is something to treat the transmission of HIV after potential exposure. So they also give that to like nurses who may be stuck by a needle in the hospital or something like that. And then we also have a new prevention pill that's called doxycycline. It's called DoxyPEP. Have you heard of that? So when I tell y'all this, it's gonna blow your mind. So it's really like a pill to significantly prevent the transmission of STIs, like syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia. So it's just like MPEP in the way that if once you have sexual intercourse, whether that be oral or anal or vaginal, if you take that doxycycline, we call it DoxyPEP, 72 hours after that intercourse, it reduces your chance of getting syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia by like 89%.
Okay.
Yeah. And all going back to this like 1980 piece that we started a conversation with to where we are in 2024. It's powerful. But where you talked about earlier, like these misconceptions and these myths as well. What are some of the biggest myths you're finding? Not just around like the virus itself, right? But like particularly around this PrEP and PEP piece.
Well, first, again, one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's only for gay and bisexual men, which we do make up the majority of the population that are HIV positive individuals. Matter of fact, HIV data is a little bit stagnant when it comes out because it takes so long to collect the data. But in 2022, there were about 36,000 new HIV infections, and gay and bisexual men made up 67% of those new infections, which is crazy. But I'm trying. Leave me back on the question again because I didn't got sidetracked.
No, you're good. Thank you for sharing that data point as well. But like in terms of the myths and misconceptions around PrEP and PEP.
So again, that it's only for gay people, and then another myth is that it's super expensive and it's unaffordable, which is crazy because even the manufacturers of the medication have programs that they can pay for the medication if you don't have insurance or if your insurance doesn't. Yeah, so like Gilead has a program called Ready Set PrEP, where you can get signed up for that. So if you don't have the adequate insurance coverage or you don't have coverage at all, you can get the medication pretty much free of charge. And then there's another program I think called Mister that's free.
MISTR.
Yeah, MISTR. They like deliver the PrEP to your home as well. So it's really clear, confidential that way. And another myth that I would say, maybe not so much around PrEP, but around HIV, is about how it's spread. I feel like that's another thing that adds to the stigma because people are still unaware of how HIV is spread. And then that leads into a bigger problem because now you'll have people, and particularly in our community, gay men in the South who will be HIV positive but don't want to share that information with people they have sex with out of fear that they're going to be labeled and judged. which technically is illegal. Like, you're technically not supposed to knowingly have sex with someone if you're HIV positive and not tell them to give them that option. But again, with U equals U, a lot of people still feel like, well, if I'm undetectable, like, I really don't have to disclose that I'm HIV positive, because again, the fear of rejection. Like, I'm going to be rejected once I say this. Like, once I tell someone that I'm HIV positive, they're not going to want to, eat behind me or drink out of the same cup that I do, which is crazy. Or if I come to their house and I eat, they're going to throw my entire plateware, like fork, everything in the trash, like the glass I drank out of in the trash. Like, it's really crazy. So that's why I said, to go back to my point about the landscape of us coming so far, I feel like it's only been in like the science portion of it, like us having a lot of new advances in different medications to treat and prevent the disease. But as far as battling the stigma, I feel like we've come a long way. But honestly, like, I have this debate a lot of times with people in my field. I feel like the stigma is greater now, more so than it probably, just as much as it was in the 80s, honestly. I really do. Like even working in this field, like, it's still taboo. Like, nobody wants to talk about it. Like, when we go places as the Department of Public Health now, but like for the last 50 years as DHEC, and it was time for PrEP or HIV testing to get up and talk about our programs, like, you could just look at the discomfort in the room, like, and I'm like, why does nobody feel comfortable hearing or talking about sex? And that's a product of how all of us in this room got here. Like, you're here because your mom, your dad had sex.
You're in the Bible Belt.
Yeah, and I'm like, but it's just really crazy, and it's like, it's crazy you say that we're in the Bible Belt, but South Carolina is like the 6th ranked state with the highest new HIV infection.
But we don't talk about sex, so
and that's why, and it's because like, especially in South Carolina, like, we're leading cases with new gonorrhea infection. Like, there's so much gonorrhea going on now. Like, they have this new gonorrhea called like super gonorrhea, where like the medication doesn't even treat it. Like, you have to go through a series of antibiotics to get rid of.
I remember when I was in college, Columbia had the highest numbers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For STIs. But I mean, you brought up sex ed. Sex ed only promoted abstinence. That was the talk. They talked about STIs, but it was just like, you need to be abstinent. You won't get it.
That's not gonna work because the kids having sex.
The kids was having sex. Why
they ain't having sex?
Yeah.
We're back.
He's here.
Hey, how y'all doing?
How y'all doing? A little movie magic. But obviously, it's still great to have you. And I'm definitely happy to be talking. I don't know if we should give a little background on just, how serendipitous our relationship is even now, just going back to Crestwood High School in Sumter, South Carolina.
So, yeah, I mean, I graduated in 2007. When did you graduate again?
2014.
Oh my God, 7 years.
Yeah.
I just felt really old. Yeah, so I know my mom knows you, and she had so many good things to say about you. And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't know he was an alpha. I was like, yeah, he's an alpha. She's like, well, I knew he was going to be an alpha because he always kept himself really clean. And she's like, I have his picture on my wall. So you probably know in her office, she has like that wall with all of her students. She's like, yeah, I have his picture on my wall. She's like, oh, Miss Julian. I was like, yeah, I'm going to see him. She's like, make sure you tell him I said hey. So Miss Nelson said hey.
Well, thank you. I gotta go back. And see that picture and update it.
Yeah.
But much to the conversation we were having already, can you tell us a little bit about your work, just your work experience, what you're doing now, and how that shows up in the space of advocacy?
Yeah, so for me, like, I always wanted to represent our community because I've worked in this field for about 10 years now, and one of the things that I despise, and I hope I can say this, like, I'm not going to be censored or anything. It's not anything too negative, but like, I just really feel like in a space where how you in a space where when we're dealing with a virus that impacts Black gay men so significantly, like, there's so many people who work in positions of power who don't look like us and who don't even have the same lifestyle as us. And I'm speaking to the heterosexual white men that run a lot of the organizations and are in control of a lot of funding. So it was very important to me to show up and be a representative in this space because I'm living, what everybody's going through in my community. So I'm a gay black male, and I wanted to be able to talk about HIV prevention and treatment, and be an advocate for my people, because it means a lot when you see someone that looks like you.
Absolutely.
You know, you can relate to a person on a much deeper level when you have just that shared experience of what you look like. A lot of time, like when I worked in HIV treatment, I was a medical case manager, so I worked with clients who were HIV positive, and we helped them navigate through that journey. And a lot of my coworkers were like white women fresh out of college, and shout out to the strong black women, because black women have been holding us down. There are a lot of black women in this field, and there are also a lot of black women living with HIV too.
Yeah.
I know we talked about stigma, we talk about a little bit more, but HIV stigma has greatly impacted black women, because black women have actually moved into like the category of the leading subgroup of people with new HIV infections percentage-wise. But yeah, it just was really important for me to have that representation, so someone could come in and not be afraid to be open and be honest and share their true experiences with us, because I can't really serve someone like if they're not willing to be open and honest and talk about sex and talk about it in a way where I can lead them down the right path on like whether PrEP is a good option for them or whether it's not. So I just really wanted to be that representative for my community.
Yeah, and in so many ways, through your advocacy, teaching people how to advocate for themselves, how to deconstruct stigma, how to really like parse out like, why am I feeling this way when just the word HIV is said, right? Like, I think that's a really big part of the conversation, and that's obviously I don't have to tell you that, but that's really important work.
So what do you think you need to create more open, supportive dialogue with the community and outreach around PrEP and HIV prevention?
I honestly feel like we need to make it a part of like everyday conversation. Like that's really has been my goal. Like the last 2.5 years I've been in this role is to increase PrEP in part of the like general conversation. Like when you're sitting at the dinner table with your kids and you're talking like, and your kids are older or even in the age like if they're not like too old, like 10, 8, 9, or 10, like, and you guys may have a conversation about birth control, like if they see a commercial on TV or they may see a PrEP commercial on TV. Like I feel like introducing that into conversations at an earlier age, and begin talking about it. Like I feel like if we make it more mainstream, then we'll have a better chance to fight the stigma that we're continuously facing. So things that I've been trying to do is like increase like our PSAs, our commercials, but again, our funding has been significantly cut, and unfortunately, marketing is like one of the first things to go when they're looking for places to cut money from. And so, like, we don't have the opportunity to put up like billboards as often as we want. Like we've seen success with that. Like if you ever come to the Columbia area, you might see some of the metro buses wrapped with like PrEP stickers around them, like awareness with people to go to our website. But our biggest thing that we do is every year in September, we have this event called PrEP Awareness Week. And so this is our 5th annual PrEP Awareness Week, but the event has grown so large that we're doing it the entire month of September. Okay. And so an event that I'm really proud of is we're going to have our inaugural PrEP ball. We're working with the South Carolina Black Gay Network and the House of Land Van in Columbia, South Carolina. So we're going to have a PrEP ball. And so just getting out in the community and having events where people can come out and feel safe and feel like there's a safe space. And then not also scaring people away with like making HIV testing mandatory, I guess, to come to the event. Because a lot of people in our community, believe it or not, already know their status. And I really, we always offer testing, but we don't like to have events that are just focused on HIV. Like we try to take HIV out of it and just focus on the fun aspect, but still, of course, educate people. And then again, with PrEP Month, last year I think we were on 20 different college campuses and universities where we have these events where we partner with community agencies and they do HIV screenings, STI screenings, and then we provide them with some of the swag that I brought for you guys, food and different things like that. So that event has grown tremendously over the last 2 years, and so just being out there, having a stronger presence in the community.
Yeah. I think we can like obviously hear your heart for this work, right? And how engaged you are in it. and that it matters so much to you.
Yes.
And I'm sure someone will pour a lot into it. How do you take care of yourself and constantly pour back into your own cup after constantly giving back to everybody else all day, every day?
So listen, you have to learn how to detach work from your personal life, because not so much now, because I'm mostly working like as an educator, or like I'm a trainer, and then like I do a lot of things like on the like management side, but like on the coordinating side. But when I was actually dealing with patients every day, like taking on a lot of people's problems can be a lot when you have your own issues, and sometimes when you're dealing with similar things that they're going through, and to have to deal with that on a constant basis, and the workload being, you know, very heavy in this field. Like a lot of caseworkers are overworked, their caseloads are super high because it's a field where they don't get paid anything really. I think like the starting salaries of a case manager is like $38,000, but it requires you to have a master's degree. So first of all, that's already not a good selling point to get people to come in this field, and then people who do come stay for short periods of time until they find something better, because you can't really support yourself on $38,000 a year. So
Detach.
yes. See, that's why I'm glad you got me back.
You got me in another place.
That's all.
You all focused out.
The 38,000 had made me mad. Like he had done got me.
I know. I was
back
there
in
too.
the
Your chest got a little tight.
Yeah,
I
I was
bring it
like,
back in,
oh
really
my
bad.
But I don't know. I indulge in a little, you know, different things. You know, I just find some me time to just relax, you know, and decompress. I do lately. I have been working out, and that has been therapy for me. Yeah, over like the last 2 years, I lost like 100 pounds. So it's been a huge transition for me. And yes, I work out. That's therapy. I like to listen to music, but you know, I have the occasional drinker, you know, a smoke, a cigar, or something like that, you know. But just finding something that you like to do and making time for yourself. Like even if you have to plan it in your calendar. And I'm the PTO king. Like I have no problem putting leave requests in. Like I have a ton of leave, and I feel like if I leave my organization, like it's the state, so they only gonna pay you a certain amount anyway. So anytime I feel like I need to take a day, which isn't often because I work from home a lot, but so that's another good thing for me. So I don't really have to now decompress a lot because I'm home a lot, and I don't have that client to client interaction, that client to provider interaction a lot. But when I did, you know, I definitely needed a little smoke break or a little bottle of wine. I'm not gonna say glass, I said bottle of wine. Or something like that.
What kind of wine?
So again, you wasn't here when I said I don't eat macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
And everybody went crazy. So, but for wine, I really like sweet wine. So I only drink Moscato. What you about to say? Are you still mad on the mac and cheese?
And Moscato too now.
I'm not a huge drinker, but I do like Moscato. But like liquor, I'm a tequila drinker. So if I do drink liquor, it's gonna be tequila. Okay.
So you want them over with that? I'm a Jane guy.
Yeah, but yeah, when I told them I didn't eat mac and cheese, but I love food, you know, and I'm from the South, that was like, wrap up, we about to go home.
Yeah.
It's over.
Immediately. So, leave us with two things. One, where or what is the best resource for getting testing, and what would be great requirements to make someone think that I probably should get on PrEP?
So first, let me do the latter. So a big myth that I should have probably said when you asked me that is like the CDC would love to say people are only eligible for PrEP if they're at high risk. I feel like anybody who is having sex and not in a relationship or a monogamous relationship, and even then, if you think there's a chance that something might happen, you should get on PrEP. And you can start PrEP and start and stop at any time. It's not going to impact you like if you're trying to get pregnant or anything like that. So that's the first thing. Like, there's no set requirement. Like anybody who's trying to take control of their sexual life, PrEP is for you. If you're HIV negative, that's the only requirement. I would say you have to be HIV negative.
And I would encourage you to have certain conversations with your doctor, because they will put in certain messaging in your records around like, oh, at a high risk, even though you're not at a high risk.
And it's like, how are you determining that I'm high risk and you're not even having conversations with me? Because there are types of sex that may make you more at high risk. Like, of course, anal sex, you are at higher risk. And of course, like if you're the bottom or the receptive person receiving, you're going to be at a higher risk than the top or the person inserting. So yeah, there's different levels to it. However, like, how do you know what my risk factors are unless you're asking me? And I've never been to a non-infectious disease doctor who's actually asked me like sexual experience questions, you know, like in depth to know whether I'm at risk or not. So I would say you don't have to be at high risk, just anybody who wants to take control of their sexual health. And then as far as getting tested, so people can go to preplocator.org. And when you go there, it'll pull up all the different organizations in your area by zip code. You can search in your state who offers PrEP in your area. And every organization that's offering PrEP in South Carolina also tests for HIV. And every organization that's funded by the Department of Public Health will test for free. So we have agencies throughout the state, and we're also starting, you can get tested at the health departments as well for HIV for free. And then we're starting to offer PrEP in the health department. So we just rolled it out in the upstate region, so eventually we'll bring it to the Low Country, the PD, and the Midlands area. But any of our agencies on our website, you guys can go and get tested free of charge.
Can you have that website one more time?
So it's going to be scdph.gov/PrEP.
And you said locator. What was the other one?
So the other website is preplocator.org. So just PREP locator.org.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be us if we don't do a little quick rapid fire.
Okay.
So, who wants to start that off?
Julian.
Are you sure? All right, rapid fire. Let's go. If you could create a TV show or movie about the experiences of Black gay men in the South, what would be the main plot or theme?
I don't know. I feel like it would be just like Noah's Ark, but with better acting.
Oh
no! You are.
That was shady. I love Noah's Ark.
I'm an actor, and I just feel like the acting on Noah's Ark was just.
I've never seen Noah's
The
Ark.
girl's about to jump you on these comments. You don't like macaroni and cheese.
No,
you don't like Noah's Ark.
I love Noah's Ark, but can you guys not admit the acting was like?
I'm not gonna. They were the first representation.
Yeah,
They were,
and they coming back.
Up a certain line.
It's probably gonna be much better now when they come back. The
But
best.
Dr. Dre is saying, is there still room for critique?
Yeah.
Sure, of course. But I think it was like a period piece.
Not a period piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be something like a Noah's Ark kind of. Because I'm really big on friendship, and so like it would probably be something like Noah Ark meets Harlem that focuses on like maybe 4 or 5 gay guys and like how they navigate love and life and the challenges that comes with being a gay black man, and it should be in the South, of course.
Because they'd be
Like,
skipping over.
sound like you need to be a writer.
I got some things in the works, Tyler Perry, you see this.
No, we had a cast. No, you're moving to DC.
Listen.
Put it in the budget. I can I love that though.
Yeah.
Especially the Harlem connection.
Because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I want to see us in a different light on TV. Like, Pose was great, but it's like,
It still was a period piece.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why can't we have like a gay version of Living Single or Harlem or something like that, So
It gives you like that everyday experience.
and kind of give the people something more to see, because believe it or not, like, it's just uncomfortable. Like when you go to like heterosexual spaces, like the barbershop, and like you hear them talk about big misconceptions about gay people, and like my barber doesn't know that I'm gay or whatever, and it's like I don't have a problem telling him that I'm gay. Cause he follow me on social media, so if he ever see any of my Halloween pictures, that because I take Halloween very seriously. Last year I was Tina Turner, so
does Earl.
oh.
Yes, my favorite holiday.
But yeah, just like listen to them talk about like what they perceive like gay guys to be like, or like I remember them in the barbershop last week and they were talking about, I guess, like something gay being in a cartoon, and the guy was like, I'm so tired of them feeling like they forcing this down my kid's throat. Like my kid, like why the cartoon characters got to be gay? Like
Because people be gay.
So it's just like I just
it's
want
a big world.
Yeah, I just want something to like represent gay people in a more of a positive light, to show a different side of us, because we get put in a box a lot. I think.
Absolutely. I love it.
Look at yours. Let me get mine first. Name one simple but effective way someone can support a friend who is HIV positive.
Don't mention anything about their HIV. Treat them just like you would treat any friend that you didn't know their HIV status. Because I feel a lot of times that's where a lot of friends feel alienated, or they feel like their friends are treating them differently because they have that condition. And like honestly, nowadays with the medication, people who are in control of their HIV and are undetectable, like they're living longer and healthier lives than people who, you know, don't have HIV. So I would say to not even mention it. Like just treat them like you treat all your other friends.
I think that was a great finisher.
Now, you good with that?
I'm good.
And that's on period.
Period. Close us out.
Thank
Well,
you.
y'all,
Of course.
yeah, and thank you. I'll follow up and say thank you. I just really value like all the information that we're able to provide to people. I know people are looking for information specifically around HIV, how to find PrEP, and I'm really happy that our platform is helping to spread the good news a little
Yeah, we're getting there. So I guess one good little stat that I kind of just want to brag on myself a little bit before we leave is like when I first came into this role as a PrEP coordinator, one of my primary goals is to increase awareness and education about PrEP and overall increase the PrEP coverage goal in South Carolina. I think you were talking about the EHE, the end of the epidemic goal. So part of that goal under the prevention pillar is to get 50% of individuals in the state of South Carolina on PrEP by 2030. But when I got into this role, the coverage was at 18.2%, and as of our last data report, we moved up to 35.2%. So we've almost doubled like the percent of PrEP coverage, and that goes to all the great work that they're doing in South Carolina and these agencies, testing people and educating them about PrEP. So,
Awesome. Well, cool. Y'all, it's been another great episode with the G.R.I.T.S Co. I do want to thank y'all for tuning in. Love y'all deep. Again, find yourself, find your people.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.